want me to address it now, or?
Yeah, please.
Okay. These are the activities in my department since the last board meeting. Septic permit wise, I listed the numbers there for comparison. This time, a year ago, 2023, we had issued 60 permits. So we're a little bit ahead of what we were last year. The other thing to note is inspections of licensed establishments. As of today, I've inspected 37 with about 32 remaining, so doing okay in that realm as well. And other than that, that was it, just real quick. If anybody has any questions, let me know.
Did you, have the food permits been, I know we had that contracted out last year.
Yes, I'm doing it myself.
You're doing it this year?
Yes.
Has that been doable? Is it doable for you?
Yeah, so far. And just about on mark for where I'd like to be. They need to all be done by the end of December, and so doing pretty good with doing that.
Yes, Kristen.
On the food permits, is that like for the Thursday night farmers market or the rodeo? Or
Those are in addition.
in addition to
this.
those?
So these are just the ones that are licensed through the Food and Consumer Safety section. They're the ones that require an annual inspection.
Oh.
Retail food, motels, trailer courts,
Oh, okay.
campgrounds.
Okay.
So,
And there was no update on our past Board of Health meeting that we had with Connor now.
the violation, I did have a call from him, but he wants me just to go up there and just look at it myself. And I've been there, and I know that I can't see what I need to see without somebody digging it up. And I don't think, liability reasons, I don't think that's my job to go dig around. So I was just looking for his, I'm gonna ask Nicole if she has his contact number, I can call him and just tell him, let me know when it's opened up and exposed. I tried to tell him that, but he didn't understand it. So I just think it's a waste for me to run up there when I won't see anything. I need it to be exposed.
Does he have a timeline?
That's what my question, yeah.
I thought we had given him till August.
The motion was 45 days from whenever we, right?
Okay. Well, anything else?
Okay, no further questions?
All right, thank you. All right, first item on discussion decision, Emily Clark, letter of interest for the board. Emily, thanks for coming. Emily's letter shows to whom it may concern. My name is Emily Clark. I'm a registered nurse in the role of quality and infection control at the Lynx Clinic Broadwater. I'm submitting this letter to express my interest in a position on the Broadwater County Community Board of Health. I've been a nurse since 2015. I've been working in Broadwater County for the last 2.5 years as a nurse here at the Lynx Clinic Broadwater. I first started as a clinic nurse and then had an opportunity to become our quality and infection control nurse almost 2 years ago. I've been a member of the community since 2019 when my husband and I decided to make Townsend home base. I enjoy working in and giving back to the community in which I reside. As a member on the Community Board of Health, I would bring local hospital representation, commitment to serving our community with their best interests at heart, critical thinking, hard work ethic, and positive attitude. Thank you so much for considering me to be a member of your team. Sincerely, Emily Clark. I know you personally, so I would highly recommend you join the Board of Health, but I'm sure our other members might have some questions. Look at you, Blake, because you usually have questions.
I think, yeah.
Debbie?
No, I think the letter is wonderful and kind of gives a background, so thank you.
Is there a motion from anyone?
Well, currently we don't have an open, right?
Well, okay, technically, yes. So as I was talking about that a little earlier, because we have a couple commissioners, we have a spot where we can take an interested member of the public. we have to look at the board terms, we haven't done that yet, because I don't know how long each of their terms are, so it'd be anywhere from 1 to 3 years, and we will have that figured out when the Board of Health presents this to the commission, either this coming Wednesday or the following Wednesday, to be more specific, but it'll be anywhere from 1 to 3 years. The recommendation is, so she would take Commissioner Randolph's spot.
When is yours?
As commissioners, we don't have terms
Oh.
for this board.
Yeah, okay.
We just needed to fill this board up because
Yeah.
for a while there,
Yeah.
there were openings.
Yeah.
So that's how I got here.
Yeah.
So,
And I think you'd like to see, I mean, we will always have at least a commission liaison to
Yeah.
the board,
Yeah.
which is good. I think, I would like to see, we've got, with Emily, with Tiffany, we've got hospital representation with yourself, hospital representation. It would be great to see somebody else in your field, JJ, more in the environmental health type field as well, so, and they can always replace me at some, whatever point. We'll call for board openings. We're doing that every year now, annually, like in the fall, for the new year. And then you'd always have a commission liaison to this board. I think it'd be good to have good representation from all health fields.
Maybe we could ask David to let us know when our terms are up.
I will.
I see where we're at.
Absolutely, we will get that figured out, and we will, when that comes, as we vote today, that'll come before the commission, we'll have that information for what length of term that is. Is there a motion?
Madam Chair, I make a motion that we add Emily Clark to the health board.
I'll second, Tiffany.
Okay. There is a motion and a second to add Emily Clark to the Board of Health. Is there any public comment? Any public comment? Any public comment? All in favor of adding Emily Clark to the Board of Health, please say aye.
I,
All opposed?
Aye.
Thank you for your delay. Motion passes. Thank you.
Just kidding, she did not say it that way.
I think there's a small delay on the phone. So. We're laughing because it made it sound like you were opposed. Tiffany?
Oh, no, in favor.
Thank you.
Because I'm in Whitefish, I'm kind of far away.
Oh, okay. Rough life.
yeah.
All right, next item is discussion and decision. Broadwater County Sanitarian, Megan Bullock, old septic permits and stamp authority request.
Where do I start? I'm not sure if any of you are aware of this, but there are hundreds of files in the environmental health that have not been completed. Last week, I dug through 2007, the year 2007, this was the stack. I don't understand why, but many of I'll just hand one around so you can see it. Many of the permits are done. The sanitarian inspected it, there's a drawing on file, the installer submitted, but the sanitarian never did sign off and approve the system. And it's something that I can't come along later and sign off approving because I don't know what was put in, I have no idea. It sounded like years ago, maybe 2018, the Board of Health had a stamp and they gave approval to stamp those files. Here's an example of that stamp. They gave approval to stamp those files so that we could get them scanned, filed, and in the database. And so I'm here today to ask you if we can, we don't know where the stamp is at. We've asked, we can't find it. So I'm here today to ask if you would entertain looking at that again. I think it's necessary. What happens is that people call to get a copy of their file for maybe a sale, a refinance, a consultant working on a DEQ, and we don't have a complete file for them. So out of 2007, the ones in the green file are ones that I've determined could be stamped and put in the file as complete. These ones, I don't know the story on them, they are signed, they just were still in this pending file, so Daleen will scan and get these in the database. But these ones are just needing a stamp or a final signature to get them done. There's lots and lots of them to go through, so my thought was to just each week try to go through a few more. So I would ask that you consider giving me the discretion to determine which ones can be completed or not, and we could purchase a stamp to do that.
Are there any, that need, you're sorting, you're going through these individually, looking at them to make sure they have everything that's needed prior to doing that stamp? Are you finding any that don't, that need more information?
Out of the entire 2007 file, I think there were 3 that just did not have the installer's form to finish them.
I think it's all the way up to, how many years?
2007 is
All
the
the way up?
beginning, all the way to current, yeah, so it's quite a file drawer full. We might run into trouble a little later because the installers typically will submit regardless, the way I do it, regardless of if I inspect or not, they still are expected to submit an as-built and fill out a form. A previous sanitarian had a GPS machine and she only had them fill out the report, so there were no drawings on file. It was in this GPS machine and none of that data has ever come out of there. I will work on that and see if I can figure out how to get that information, but that's a bad deal because there's nothing in the file for a drawing. I have a drone and so I shoot both an aerial photo and fill out the report form, so you won't run into this after I'm gone for my part, but it is a problem, there's a lot of them.
But you're not leaving, so that's great.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say, like with the Megans, it's really nice because you got an aerial photo showing the house and at least you can see exactly where everything is. So if for some reason one wasn't filled out, it's all there. And it's just better job.
And I have signed off on a couple from Sean, but that's because there were a lot of photos. I could basically inspect it by looking at the photos and I was comfortable doing that, but I can't do that for all these. I would say there's several hundred. I don't know, I asked Daleen what she thought. I would guess there's several hundred that are needing to be gone through.
Have you talked with Ken by any chance? I'm just wondering if Ken might be able to help you.
I haven't seen him since last week.
Okay. It might be worth asking him if he could help you figure that out. Obviously there's some way to get the information on her GPS, right?
I hope so, because there's got to be a lot of data in there.
And then,
Well, I did get a phone call from Jean Steele, and she was on the Board of Health when the stamp came into effect. And then that's about the time that Julie, the sanitarian, left. So whatever happened to the stamp, I think it sounds reasonable that we should get the stamp back so you can, these look like they're all there, so you can just finish them up. Just for the people that are selling their properties and stuff, that have it held up because of something incomplete. That the work has all been done as far as I know. The majority of it is that you can do it. Is that right?
Right, yes, this whole stack, the ones in the green folder, they just simply need a stamp.
Yeah.
And so there's really no reason not to sign off. Julie did the inspection, there's drawings on file.
what's the cost of the stamp? It's probably minimal, I would assume.
Yes, and if we could find it, we would, but nobody seems to know where this stamp ended up, so we would ask for permission to order a new stamp.
I talked with Jean as well, yeah, she talked.
Yeah, I can see the problem that they have. It seems like, yeah, it's gonna be a lot of work to go through all of
It
it.
will.
But,
I got 1 year done,
yeah.
That's great.
except for it's generating a lot of work for Daleen, because now she'll need to scan each one of these, put them in
Yeah.
the database, file them, but it'll be done.
But it'll clean up everything, yeah,
Yes.
it'll be,
Right.
yeah.
We'll throw a little party when you get finished with that.
So I have a question. The ones that aren't complete, there's very few. What's the process then with those?
So the ones that aren't complete appear to me to be just missing certified installer reports. I will talk to the installer and see if there's any chance he still has something on it. Being that they're certified, their workmanship is probably not, there's probably no question it was put in okay, but we really need something for the file showing what was done.
So even if the installer's permit isn't in there, or paperwork or whatever, you know who the installer was?
On the 3 that I found in Osage.
Thank you.
Now, ones that were not certified and there's no drawings, I don't know, maybe just to get them in the database, just not stamp off that as being approved, but at least get them in the database so that we know that they were permitted.
Can you, just in case anyone's listening or watching, can you explain what a certified installer does? Just
A certified installer takes an exam and they have training in Broadwater County, they're required to have training every 5 years. The benefit to being a certified installer is that I could waive their inspection if I needed to. I don't generally do that, but it is an option. They follow, the permit fee is different. If they're a certified installer, it's $250 versus $350, so there's that break. Within 10 days of completing the system, a certified installer is required to submit an as-built and what actually was done on site. So that's the difference.
Thank you. All right. Do you know where to order the stamp?
I think there's a Helena Stamp Works.
Yeah.
That's where I would suggest.
Right. Any other thoughts, questions?
Yeah, I suggest just getting a stamp of everyone's good with that, and working your way through them, at least it'll get caught up in the next year or two.
Initially, I thought that I could bring a file every meeting for you to give approval for this bunch to be stamped, but I think it would take too long to get them done that way because you meet quarterly. I don't think that makes a lot of sense. So if you give me the discretion, that would be appreciated.
I think that's a great idea.
I mean, I've looked at a lot of the septic permits, and I think that what you're talking about, Megan, they're good, and the drawings are as good as they're gonna be, depending on who drew them. And you at least can define the system, and the way she's doing them now, it's like no doubt, because it's drone details, you can measure and everything. You've got measurements on.
All right, thank you.
Get these guys back so I'm not
Yeah,
losing
right.
some.
So, do we have a motion to get us in?
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion that we allow Megan to pick up a stamp and go through, to go through the septic permits and try to get those caught up and approved as deemed necessary and acceptable.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for Megan the sanitarian to get a stamp and go through the old permits and stamp those as needed. Is there any public comment? Is there any public comment? Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
Okay, motion passes.
Thank you.
Thanks, Megan. I can follow up with you on that too, if you need any assistance with the exam stuff. Okay, next on the agenda is a discussion decision, Director of Public Health, Ruby Taylor. Got a couple items for you, Ruby.
Hi, everyone. So the 3 items that are on there are kind of just some housekeeping for me to some extent. One that is very important, and I think we could all benefit from it, is the Board of Health training that the state puts on. So DPHHS does a Board of Health training. It kind of goes through the statute more in detail and gives us like our roles and responsibilities as Board of Health and as public health and how we're supposed to work together and that sort of thing. I'm sure there's parts about environmental health too, but I don't talk about that very often. So it's done by Todd Harwell, who is the bureau chief for DPHHS, and Megan Gillespie. And they're both awesome. They're both super laid back and fun to be around, so I don't think it would be like a horrendous experience for us all to go through. And I think it would really help us. Like the biggest one that they've pointed out to me is that like by statute, we are required to meet quarterly. And I know that sometimes we don't have any agenda items, so we've canceled meetings. Technically, we're not allowed to do that. So, like, that's the biggest one that comes into my mind, but I think that as public health, I could be using you guys better in like looking at my policies and plans and everything, and just having a better, more cohesive relationship. Not that we have a bad one by any means, but I think that we could be doing more as Board of Health, and I really want to get to the standard that I feel we could be at. So the hour is about an hour, or the training is about an hour and a half, from what they've told me, and I would think that we would do it outside of a regular meeting, but that would kind of be your guys' call too. If like the next time you could possibly do it is during our next regular meeting, I can absolutely get Megan and Todd on board. But I think outside of it would give us a little more time to like ask questions and really get into things if we needed to, but for the most part, it is completely up to your discretion on that one, and I will help facilitate getting it scheduled and all of that jazz. So, after this meeting, maybe I'll send you guys a follow-up and just see what would work dates-wise. And we can go from there, is kind of what I'm thinking, but again, total your discretion, and if you are hearing this and are like, forget Board of Health training, you can also tell me that. But I do think that pre and post-COVID, Board of Health has just changed a lot, and things have just changed a lot, and so I think it'd just be a good refresher for all of us. And for like myself, I've never been involved with public health until I started working there 2 years ago, and I'm just learning on the fly. So it would just be nice for me to have a good, solid base to start from and to work from to better everything that we're doing. And that's it on that little bullet point. Do you have any questions on it?
I would gladly do it. I know everybody's time is very valuable. I would gladly do it again. I'm in the new realm like you are, so I think it would be helpful to have more of an understanding of how the two entities work together. I know we've talked about a few different things that I didn't even realize could even be in the Board of Health scope in working with public health.
Yeah.
So I would personally be for it, but what do you think, yes?
I agree. We have a couple new board members, and they'll all be refreshers and things, and something going on all the time. And you're absolutely right, Marie. Pre and post-COVID has changed on how we look at things. And
Yes.
so it'd be good.
Yeah, and
Well,
I was,
I probably got the easiest schedule, so when everybody else that we're doing.
why don't you break some more there? Yeah, no, so perfect. I think that sounds good. JJ, you got any questions, concerns?
Would it be like for us, would they come here?
Yes, yeah. So, Todd is based out of Helena, Megan is in Missoula, and she comes down all the time. They actually were here, last week to do a 3-hour, FAB survey with me to like look at our foundational public health, parameters and where we're meeting them and that sort of thing. And I still would invite them down to do this training after 3 hours of hanging out. So,
I can make it work, September's tough for me, we'd have to
Okay.
just get some
Okay.
at a time.
yeah, I can definitely look at like next month even. So, awesome. Yes,
I have a question. Is there a cost to this?
no, totally free.
Wow. And then, I think it's a great idea with all the legislative changes. And I'm sure there'll be more, but at least you can get caught up as to the date of the meeting.
Mhm.
But there were a lot after COVID.
Yeah.
I don't think we need an official motion to do this.
No, I don't think so.
I think we're fine, we can take the scheduling offline and you can just do that afterwards.
Mhm.
You know, the board will get it figured out.
Yep.
Looking at these items here, and I should have caught this earlier, but this kind of plays into the last item, which is the Board of Health and Public Health
Yes,
relationship. So let's kind of skip, I want to skip that middle succession planning and we talk about that relationship and.
So, Board of Health is, Public Health is kind of run very independently for the last several years. And like, don't get me wrong, love my autonomy. I enjoy my job the way it is. However, I think that I can work more cohesively with you guys and we can use that to like set policies forward and really give public health some pretty clear marching orders for the next few years, especially since we did just do our CASPER survey. And through the next year, I'm gonna continue to gather more data with our community health survey, or community health assessment. And so I'm really excited to look at that data and figure out what our community feels like would be beneficial for public health to bring to the table and like implement that and just do more. My gals are very passionate and we are all community members. Like I've been here since I was a kid and I knew nothing of public health prior to working there other than it was the brown building where kids could get pamphlets on STDs if they needed them. And I would like to be more than that in our community. So I feel like we do a pretty good job right now. Like more people know about us, know what we do. My other nurse and I are always telling people about public health and to come see us. So, and my other girls too, but specifically mentioned Jenna because like we go to a family function and tell everyone about our jobs. And so we enjoy what we do and we want to be a bountiful resource for the community. And I think that having Board of Health more involved and helping us in setting those parameters and goals and plans into place is going to be super beneficial. So that's kind of my thought on it.
Thank you.
So it sounds like that's something that the training can help.
Yes, I think that
define and develop.
the training is gonna help us kind of get to that point. And it'll also help me like figure out where I could potentially look for funding opportunities and that sort of stuff. Cause like, there's a lot of grants available for public health, but some of them don't necessarily align with what we want as a community. And so I would rather like narrow down my searches for public health funding, or for grants that we can do or anything like that so that we can actually use it and not hate the deliverables and actually enjoy the things that we're being paid to put forward in our community. So that's the other thing that I'm pretty excited about is just having a little bit more of a guiding step instead of just like figure it out.
Well, I was just gonna say, I see, especially with the experience on this board, excluding myself, I think you could get some good feedback as you come up with ideas for these policies and want to move things forward.
Yes.
You get a lot of good suggestions.
Yes.
All right.
And then the third thing on that list is succession planning, and this is more just to kind of pick your brains and to think about for me to see if you have any options, ideas, anything like that. So Doc Campbell is my director and love him, not a problem. We get along just fine, not any issues. However, he may want to retire at some point. And technically I can have a retired medical director as long as they keep their license in good standing and sign my orders every year. However, if something were to happen and we don't have really a succession plan for like even my position. So if anything were to happen where like I pass away, he passes away, anything crazy, there's not a solid plan for what to do. And after a physician passes away, their orders are null and void. So like I am dead in the water at that point, because I don't have orders for vaccines, I wouldn't have anything. So my thought process is that partnering with the hospital, or, I don't, not necessarily St. Peter's, not because of anything other than they're based out of Helena, and their clinic down here, the providers are here 4 days a week, like the clinic for the hospital here, those providers, I have most of their cell phone numbers, and we talk regularly, so I just have a better relationship with them too. We need to have a plan for if something were to happen, so I would like to do like an MOU with the hospital is my first thought. Something along the lines stating like, hey, if something were to happen to my medical director, I would notify Billings Clinic and they would assign me a provider to help us out, or something to that effect. I don't know exactly what that would look like, but if you guys have any other like ideas or like a private physician that you know of who'd be willing to sign orders, it just has to be someone with an NPI number. And like, just think about it, let me know what you think.
Can I interrupt?
Go for it, Ted, go ahead.
Does it need to be an MD or can it be a PA or an NP?
Just someone with an NPI, so it can be anyone
Okay.
who has their own licensing numbers and like authority. So it can
Okay.
be an NP
When I
or,
get back, I'll talk to Justin about it. I know it'll have to go through legal. so I don't
exactly,
think that would
yeah,
be a problem.
it's gonna be a process, yes.
Yeah. So, we have a new physician starting at the hospital too in August,
Oh, awesome,
brand new. So it'll be really nice to have a new MD on the team. So he's
awesome,
bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, so we might be able to enlist him in some things.
great. Yeah, and it's not a huge commitment as like a physician, unless you really don't trust me. For the most part, we are pretty self-sufficient over at public health, and if I ever needed my medical director, I know where to find him kind of thing, is where I would need to be with it. But like I said, we really don't have any succession planning for anyone in my office. It says to look at the employee handbook, and there's not a succession plan in the employee handbook. So that is part of my goal for next year, to work on my COOP and get that all sorted. And just have a succession plan in general, so I would like to get it done by July 25, but I just thought I would bring it up to you guys and see if you had any ideas, thoughts, concerns.
Ruby, can the medical director be more involved if they wanted to be?
Absolutely.
Especially if we're talking about policy and.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Bare minimum is my standing orders need to be signed every year. But and Doc comes over every so often and just checks in on us and does check in on us and like ask us if we need anything, or if I ever needed him, I know I can get a hold of him and I know that he's there. It's just, he's honestly been great to work with, but like.
You've talked with him about this?
Yes, oh yeah, we talked about it like last year, and I was like, hey, what happens if something happens to you? And he was like, good question. So we talked about it, he knows that I would like to get a succession plan in order. And of course, I would, if we figure out something and have like a solid plan going, he's going to be part of that. And he'd be more than welcome at any meeting to discuss it, anything like that, because he is my current director and I respect him, so I don't want to step on his toes by any means, but realistically, we all know that we need to have a plan, so. And he was very kind about it when we talked the first time, so.
Any thoughts, any questions?
It'd be nice to have somebody
Reviewing
that.
it offline, send me a list of, job duties
Yeah.
that you would need to fill, or whoever would need to fill in his place.
Perfect, I will look and see if I can find the, most recent contract we have.
And as far as the succession plan,
Thank you.
and I'm jumping in real quick, right, as far as the succession plan, if we found that the right person, is that something, I mean, obviously we would need to vote on that as a board.
Probably,
You
I
pick
don't
that.
know how that works necessarily. I don't know how involved, like, Board of Health is with that planning in other counties. Like, I think that I would have to bring my COOP to you guys just because to look at it, make sure we're all on the same page, which is continuity of operations plan. sorry, I'm turning into a fat head, so I just use the acronyms all day. And so I think that would be something I would bring to you regardless, even if it wasn't like I had to bring it to you. And it's probably the same with this. And I would like to keep it more generic if possible, so that if a physician leaves the hospital, instead of having to go back through and update that again, it could just be like, a physician from the hospital would take this position, or would sub for this position until a new director was found, or something to that effect, because if it is, the more specific it is, the more you have to update those documents, like, crazily, and so having more general language is beneficial for all of us.
Well, that's something else you can probably learn in our training,
Mm-hmm.
like what level we need to be involved with that.
Mhm.
I know a lot of other counties have retired physicians that
Yes.
are, and they're very involved with their
Yes.
health boards. So we may look at seeing if there's anybody out there that might want something like that.
Yes, and I would be,
I just like to see somebody from the county that lives in the county.
yes,
that
and
can do that.
as far as I know, at least a couple of the physicians at the hospital do live here. And that would be my preference as well, because I don't wanna have to go track someone down if I have an emergency. Like,
Yeah.
Right.
if they live here, then I'm like, oh, I know where I can find them. And it's just easier to get together if need be, so. I would prefer that also, and so maybe like putting a request out or like a call and seeing if anyone would be interested, like getting a letter of interest. I don't know exactly how that would look either.
Well, maybe even adding a deputy.
Okay,
medical director.
that's not a bad idea. Yeah,
That's a good idea.
yeah, that's a great idea. Because I don't know that we've ever been structured that way.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Could you look into that?
yeah,
And see
I'll
if that's
have,
something-
I'm sure that that's something we would talk about as, in our training too.
Mhm.
But I will reach out to state and see if anyone else does that,
Yeah, that's a great idea.
because I don't know.
Well, and you're smart, if I may, you're smart to start that now because it's going to take some time
Oh, yeah.
to find the MOU, to go through our legal, to go to the hospital legal, and then it will need to come to the commission agenda.
Yes,
So if you can get any samples from other Board of Health, that would be a huge head start.
yes, I have an example from Jefferson on their COOP and their continuity plan, so that is kind of what I'm basing my life off of, because we are very similarly structured counties.
And also, doesn't Doc serve as our medical director for this board?
Yes,
Yes.
so that's the other thing too. Would we want to include that within my COOP planning too, or do we need to have a separate COOP or plan for Board of Health specifically?
Well, I know it's been a little bit lax, because I think on our bylaws, it does require that the medical director attend and meet some meetings. And I'm not sure that we meet that requirement.
Yeah, so it'd be something we would have to look at as a whole
Yeah.
and just kind of figure out what we need to do.
And again, the timing of this training is going to
Perfect.
be great.
Yeah.
Yep, it would be great. And I think that's good, we can kind of, you can put together some specifics too. If
Yes.
you wanna ask them
Yes.
as well while they're here.
And I have talked to Megan and Todd about our Board of Health and our, just like the way that we're structured in general. Cause I talk to them a lot, it sounds like now. And so just, in our discussion, they're like, oh yeah, we could definitely help with that. We could help you figure out a plan for that. So they are gonna be an awesome resource for us as a group, and I'm really excited for the training.
Yeah, I think it'll be really interesting, actually. Okay, so anything else? Anyone else? Tiffany?
No, I'm good.
Okay. Just check agenda. If everybody's good, I will adjourn the meeting.